Hi! Welcome to this part of my review featuring the Otherworlds role-playing game core rulebook. This is by the same publisher that created the Kickstarter for Black Paper Moon. If you haven't seen my review of the early access version of Black Paper Moon, please check out the playlist in the description below. When it comes to Otherworlds, you and your friends will participate as adventurers known as Otherworlders. An Otherworlder travels between worlds using an artifact known as the Wanderer. This artifact allows you to transport yourself to any dimension, any realm, in search of freedom, justice, money, power, fame, you name it. Now let's talk about the quality of the PDF. The quality is pretty good. I have to start with perhaps my favorite aspect of this role-playing game when it comes to the aesthetics, and it's the art, the illustrations. They range from good to amazing. The style in general is a bit like solar punk. You have all sorts of gnarly colors like fluorescent greens and purples and oranges and blues, enhancing the overall science fantasy theme. Now, my criticism when it comes to the illustrations is that some of them fall into the uncanny valley territory. Let's start with the cover. Look at these two characters. They have this crazed look to their eyes. They kind of look like yandere, to put it in manga or anime terms. They have this crazy look in their eyes. It almost looks like they are high on something, and not precisely high on adventure. And take a look at this other image. There are some anthropomorphic species in this role-playing game, but again they fall into that uncanny valley territory. It reminds me of what was criticized of the film Cats, based on the famous musical play. So when you want to create anthropomorphic animals, I think it's much better. I personally think that it's better to either make the character look a bit more animal than human, or a bit more human than animal. But when you reach that middle point, it looks a bit weird if you ask me. Maybe some of you like this particular look, but this is an exception. Like I said, the art ranges from good to amazing. The document is well written, explained, and organized. It's also bookmarked, so it's going to be very easy for you to navigate the entire PDF. Now, when it comes to the explanations of the rules and such, they are good, but I think this document feels a bit more directed or geared towards experienced role players. If you have never played a role-playing game before, this doesn't mean that you won't be able to use Otherworlds as your starting RPG. It just means that you will have to research a few things, perhaps watch a few YouTube videos or read some articles or other books. So let me give you an example. In the weapons section, you have two-handed weapons, one-handed weapons, but they do not specify which weapons are two-handed and which ones are one-handed. It is expected that you can identify this. For example, in a D20 based system, you can identify that, oh, this weapon deals 1d10 or above, it's probably a two-handed weapon. So you need to apply that logic to these weapons in this particular core rulebook. And I will talk more about that when I get to the weapons section of this book. I will give you my personal guidelines on how to determine which weapons are two-handed and which ones can be wielded with a single hand. But overall, despite those nitpicks, I really like the quality. The quality is great in a general sense. Now let's talk about the contents. This role-playing game reminds me a lot of Phantasy Star. Not necessarily Phantasy Star Online, although there are some similarities. It mostly reminds me of old school Phantasy Star. Now when it comes to the mechanics, this is fundamentally a dice pool system. You roll a bunch of six-sided dice. When you are asked to roll, you roll the required number of six-sided dice and add the result to your relevant stat. To resolve any task that you'd be at risk of failing, you simply make a check. That is, anytime you make a roll that has the chance to succeed or fail, this is considered a check. When the time comes, the World Master will tell you, that is the Game Master, what kind of check you'll need to make. Checks will often look like the following: attribute plus skill proficiency plus 1d6 plus bonuses. You are going to be rolling 1d6 plus any bonuses from your proficiencies, skills, and or roleplay, to put it in other words. Every die you roll, aside from the dice used to set starting character traits during character creation, has the ability to explode. So every time you roll a 6, you continue to roll dice. And every time a 6 is rolled also, it is counted as a critical. Criticals can be used to perform extra damage, persuade tough negotiators, and a plethora of other things that are covered more in depth later on. Don't forget that imagination is king, always. Be careful though, as enemy criticals will cancel yours. Now let's talk about edges. You roll an additional 1d6 and choose the highest result. This is given when a character has an advantage. This can be due to many factors, including but not limited to the following: delivering an attack from a carefully laid plan, performing a special trick that your character is uniquely qualified for, or having the high ground. The amount of edge a character can have can stack. However, you can also lose an edge. You roll an additional 1d6 and choose the lowest result. This is given when a character has a disadvantage. This can be due to many factors, including but not limited to the following: wielding an unwieldy weapon, performing a task that your character is uniquely unqualified for, trying to perform in heavy wind or rain when not suited for it. Like edge, losing edge can stack. Each loss of edge negates a stack of edge. For example, if a character gains 1 edge and loses 1 edge, then that character rolls as normal. Now when it comes to specific over general, when in doubt, always go with specific ability rulings over general rules. For example, normally you can't use 2 reaction skills in a round, but if you have an ability that allows you to do so, then you get to ignore the 1 reaction per round rule. So it's always specific over general. And this concludes this part of the review. In the next part, we are going to continue with the core system. We are going to take a look at the other core rules. Now, as you can see from the edges, from the exploding dice, this is a very over-the-top role-playing game. If you like a role-playing game of high heroics, over-the-top results, and where the rule of cool is tied directly to the mechanics, you will probably find this system quite interesting. Thank you for watching this part of the review, and thank you for your likes and your comments. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that are going the extra mile to support the channel. If anyone else wishes to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. Once again, thank you, and see you later.